You're saying we're electing leaders from the village level up to the national level. We even have 5 MPs from all these regions that are ex-officials at the NYC. We don't feel what they're doing.
They lost touch.
Yeah.
We lost touch with them.
I don't understand what's really going on.
Exactly. Elizabeth, I will allow you to feel free to punch holes or actually appreciate what the National Youth Council has done in the meantime. You've heard about the 3 key areas that Moses talked about. What is your realization?
Mr. Moses, I really do appreciate you. You've given us a general overview. And I must say that the mandate of the National Youth Council is really rich. Their mandate is really rich, but I think we need to realize whether they are really putting this kind of mandate into practice. Because in your illustration, you really clearly stated that you start from scratch. You really do start from scratch. But up until now, I even don't know the village. I don't know the one who represents
the village representative for national.
And I'm this person who is very, very, very passionate about my village. I'm always there because I want to help my people. So I just do not know. And I think the time when I get to hear about this whole National Youth Council and everything, it's when it's during election time. It's when I get to know, oh, there's something like this. But minus that, I don't really get to see it. That's when I get to realize that people actually come together and discuss youth matters, but only political oriented. How are they going to get there? But they do not really tackle the basic problems that really youths are facing. So the aspect of unity, I think, to me, the understanding of unity and how I have seen it, is that you people unify when it's time to
they mobilize, they don't unify. I think the key word that was mobilization. I had it, which I will just like the other panelists have talked about this. One, they are insinuations that the National Youth Council is actually partisan, more partisan of one side than the other sides. And this is the case. Someone said, I think we were at a football match the other day at the Inter-Party, and someone said, why do we have 2 NRM teams in the same field? And I was like, what do you mean we have 2 NRM teams? It's like, so National Youth Council and NRM should just unify and have 11 members in the pitch.
You can never be there unless you're
part of the yellow camp.
More so the executive.
Exactly. So when we are talking about one unity, do you mean mobilization for one camp? When it comes to people that are part of the NEC, do we actually have a non-partisan image up there, or should we just believe that's the case? Let's hear from Moses.
Wow, very interesting, Kansime. Of course, thank you, Robinson and Elizabeth.
Yes.
The concerns around unity are very valid. They are founded on valid principles, I must say. Uganda has a very interesting history. From the clamor of our independence, the likes of Musazi were very active in saying that Uganda deserves its independence. The time is ripe. In 2005, Ugandans clamored for a multi-party dispensation. But of course, you have to go back to the landmark decision in the case of Paul Kawanga Semogere versus the Attorney General, whereby there were contestations regarding the mode through which the multi-party dispensation came into force. And there are questions around procedure that I think court addressed very clearly, that Ugandans had the right and the obligation and the mandate to choose the mode of governance that they feel is most prudent for them. And this goes back to Article 1 of the Constitution, power belongs to the people. So why am I saying all this? It's because Ugandans in 2005 decided that we need a multi-party dispensation. And this opened up the political space. So the NRM, just like any other player, is there to participate and compete. And if they are able to mentor and groom leaders who can persuade the electorate, then I don't think they should be apologetic for that.
At the point where it's a National Youth Council, I feel that should be opened up.
It is open. All political parties participate. The village level has a 9-member youth committee. I am the village youth chairperson of my village in Wiawaranga in Ngulu. I'm the village youth chairperson.
Representing which party?
The NRM. But I competed with someone from the opposition, but I was chosen above them. So I don't think that we must zero this argument of
It can
unity.
actually be a National Youth Council NEC with fully constituted NRM from the beginning to the end. Okay, I think we need a new name.
Just to allay your fears also, the current NEC of the National Youth Council has a member who is independent. But if you go, because let's not just evaluate the national level, because those are only 11 members. How about the districts? We have so many district youth chairpersons who are in fact opposition, who are FDC. The district youth chairperson of Rukunjiri is FDC. The district youth chairperson of Mukono is DP. You see, so we are focusing on the National Executive Committee only.
How come we don't leave the district level for the other parties? And it seems like there's like a sieve right there where only
it is at the cream
that
everything starts.
Yeah.
And for as long as you have control of the executive, every other thing doesn't matter.
But to be fair to the politics, I think we are not analyzing politics in a fair manner. The Democratic Party of the USA, the Conservative Party of Great Britain, each and every single election will field the candidate. Even when they know that there's a term limit of 2 terms. All right? Joe Biden is going to serve his second term, hopefully. But the Democratic Party shall again field the candidate that shall compete for the presidency. The point is that political parties are established to compete and to amass political power.
Shouldn't the NEC represent the people? And when I say people, I want to be able to look at the mirror and see different colors. I don't want to look at the mirror and see one person representing the whole.
That is for your psychological satisfaction.
It's not psychological because they are actually valid reasons why people go from one party to another.
The point should be that Kidega Moses, whereas he belongs to the NRM, does he represent the interests of the entire youth fraternity of this country? When he speaks about issues of unemployment, is he speaking about it from a partisan lens, or is he saying Ugandans are unemployed, irrespective of that?
When Elle talked about the disconnect with the people at the grassroots, don't you feel that the fact that there is only one color at the NEC is the reason why Elle doesn't know who is representing NYC at the grassroots?
We are very, very compromised for that fact. You know, the mistake we normally make is we learn democracy from countries that have built democracy over about 100 years. And this is Uganda. Well, we said the challenges that we face discriminate no one. But when you're looking at solving these challenges from one angle, it is not right. He talks about having youth leaders that come from other different political parties. How many do they? How many can we count? How many do we have so far in the executive? I doubt we have more than 2. If you talk about an independent candidate,
is very compromised.
That is
can be leaning to any other.
Then if you're making decisions at the top, do you put into considerations all these other people? We have seen, let's look at it in the political aspect. We have seen this country going in for elections and people from these other political parties are beaten. They are going through all these rough mistreatments. Where is the National Youth Council? It does not come out because they are aligned to a certain political party, and you coming out to condemn this kind of act is going against
puts you on the spotlight. Puts you on the spotlight. We've had torture come out. We've had people arrested for political reasons. We've had kidnappings. We've had disappearances of young people who actually belong to the National Youth Council. Because National Youth Council, like you say, is for all of us. We have had no one coming out with a stance and saying, as the National Youth Council, we condemn in the strongest terms, and we ask that government produces a list of all people in its custody centers. That shows you that some issues are more important than others. And this is informed. Let me tell you what that would look like if there was actually variety at the NEC. There would be someone putting pressure. There would be committee sittings. There would be demonstrations. There would be paperwork. There would be pressure for different political parties to actually put government on pressure to,
Tracy, the most recent, I think it was last year when we had the National Youth Day. The celebrations were in Kololo. For you to participate in that celebration, you must.
Last year they were in Gulu.
They were in Gulu.
Yeah, maybe the year before.
The year before, I think, when the chairperson talked about COVID and all that.
Yeah, 2021.
For you to participate in that, you had to wear a yellow T-shirt to be there.
What does that say?
It is a national event organized by the National Youth Council. Young people are there with yellow T-shirts.
I think that, Tracy,
yes,
there are allegations being made on this conversation that I would not allow to just go by. One is that, and like I said earlier on, young people must begin to interest themselves with certain things. Because when you mention that on issues of torture, issues of human rights, the National Youth Council has not had a stance. That is very false. Just last week, the chairperson of the National Youth Council issued a very strong statement against the allegations of the torture of Mr. Eric Mwesigwa, the one who had his chest burnt. The National Council issued a strong statement. So when we come here to flood and throw sweeping statements, I feel it's very unfair to the National Youth Council. Two, the International Youth Day, no one was asked to put on a yellow shirt. I was there personally. Maybe what he's saying is that access to the event was limited for understandable reasons. Prima facie, the country was undergoing a lockdown.
A lockdown.
National events were not being celebrated in the way that we know.
Okay.
Events were being conducted scientifically. So what his argument should have been is that such an event was limited in terms of access. For reasons that I've told you were obvious.
Let's
I think Mr. Moses is
deviating from the
no. It's everything is up for discussion. Then the NYC is up for scrutiny.
Yes. I think he's sort of running away from Robinson's initial statement because I think his argument was very clear that the youth were mandated to put on yellow,
which is not true.
Did we have people?
Council.
Did we have people
Like,
from
you know that the Evidence Act, provides for he who alleges
must prove.
I want to challenge
That he proves
that in the International Youth Day celebrations of 2021, participants were demanded and required to put on yellow T-shirts. I personally, one, was in a blue shirt. I have pictures on my phone.
No, you being in a blue shirt.
You can be a blue shirt.
You being in a blue shirt.
We all
know what you're made of.
No, it's not questionable.
Yeah, we can't dispute
but the point is that is a false allegation.
Members, it's okay. The political affiliations of NYC and the NRM party have not just started. And that's, I think, the more we are cagey, dodgy, and for some reason intentionally oversee it, then you're losing actually a core mandate that actually you're there for all the youth. But let's go back to the actual question. Someone told you the youth come in groups, and he said, the elites, are you going for the elite youth? Are you going for the youth? And when you say the youth, do you mean omuntu wansi? Do you just stop at the well-schooled
the elites?
The elites, yes.
Like
so
Robinson.
yeah, the likes like Robinson knows about it, but there's a Mugubia down there who has no idea what NYC does. What are some of those programs? What are some of those campaigns that are actually pro-awareness, especially about NYC at the grassroots level?
Two things. One is that the National Youth Council has a 9-member committee at every village. If you're to do the math, Uganda has around 10,000 or more villages. That means that the National Youth Council is made up of over 600,000 leaders elected democratically. So the argument about the grassroots approach of the National Youth Council is in fact addressed in its legal establishment, that at every village in this country. Because if you're saying that, are we for the elite or are we for even the ordinary and, rural young person? It is addressed. At every village in this country, we have leadership constituted. So the question is this leadership doing what they are supposed to do?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? And I think that should be the core of this conversation, that leaders are elected. Are they doing what they are supposed to do? And earlier on, before we came on air, we were trying to evaluate the social breakdown, the political breakdown, the economic breakdown that is happening in this country. And these things we acknowledge when we have to, all right? So the National Youth Council and its leadership is a victim of
the breakdown,
a structural breakdown in this country. That leaders mushroom not from a process that is that allows civic awareness, all right? Because you'd ask yourself, what is the level of awareness of the ordinary voter in Uganda? What is the level of civic competence, all right? To what level do they understand the role of their leaders? That before I even vote my youth chairperson at the village, do I understand what this person is supposed to do for me, all right? But even if you take it to the highest level of the presidency or even to the MPs that we have, the electorate believes that members of parliament are supposed to be there to, bury people, be there to pay for school fees. Yet the roles of an MP are stipulated in Article 79 of the Constitution, which is very clear. But the population doesn't appreciate that. They don't know that. So the concern about whether our programs trickle down to the grassroots level, that is a notable yes. It is a notorious fact to those who are interested to know that our activities, our programming are intended to go to the lowest level, which is the village. Just not so long ago, last year, I think around mid of last year, we are carrying out a teenage pregnancy awareness campaign. But we did this at the lowest level. We were in Kamocha, right, where we used the coordination of the youth chairperson, Mr. Timothy Lubu, something like that. But you can see that our programming is intended to go to the lowest grassroots level. We were in Karamoja, in a village called, is it Dodoth County? No, Dodoth village. And our concern was around how can we discuss the issues of peace and insecurity that is mushrooming in Karamoja. But to appreciate this or to achieve this, we used the lowest youth leader elected at that level. So we are doing our part. We are doing our part, but also, like I said, we are against the forces of a structural breakdown in society. So, to be fair to the National Youth Council, we are a victim of a structural breakdown in this country, but also on the continent of Africa. But to say and to wish us away in the sense that our operations or our programming is elite-centered, I think that's with due respect, is a misguided statement.
A misguided statement is what we are going with from the National Youth Council. We are actually privileged to have Mr. Moses Kidega, all the way from the National Youth Council. Of course, he is the Labour Secretary. Let's speak about some of the programs you are very confident about that have addressed the livelihood gap for the young people in this country. What are those programs given the mandate and the nature it takes?
Thank you, Tracy. And one comment regarding unity. If you read Nelson Mandela's book, The Long Walk to Freedom, he explains to you how they used different avenues to unite the blacks in South Africa to fight against the apartheid. Part of the approach they used was through sports, that on the streets of Soweto, people mobilized themselves through playing football. On the aspect of unity, the National Youth Council leadership is very cognizant of the divisions amongst young people, rather. But also, we have done research regarding what could be the fundamental root cause of this division. And they're largely political. That's why the National Youth Council has championed two things to address unity. One is we have established or championed the need to form the multi-party youth forum that we have formed that brings together all youth wings of political parties on the same table to discuss that what are the issues affecting young people. These issues are perhaps cross-cutting. They know no color, like we have agreed on this panel here. So there is that initiative that we have pursued, and we are glad that the platform is growing, and we are only frustrated by political parties that don't think it is right to dialogue. But that be it as it may, on the issue of sports, we have launched a national sports tournament, and this is irrespective of your political party. Let's come play football, let's come play netball, and in so doing, we can get to debunk some of these very bad practices. But moving fast forward to your aspect of what exactly are we doing? Just this morning, a bus left Kampala to go to Kapeka, and the National Youth Council has taken young people to go and understand the aspect of horticulture and ideas around animal husbandry. There is a demonstration farm in Kapeka. The Youth Council has gathered youth this morning, just before I came. I was there actually flagging them off. They've gone to Kapeka. Over 200 young people. We don't even know their political parties. We only sent out an invitation, youth applied, and they are on their way to Kapeka to learn. That is just one. Last week alone, we were in the office of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority here in Nakasero. And our argument was that why can't government, for its procurement below 100 million, why can't it ring fence? Why can't we have affirmative action in government is procuring? And we say that there are some services that young people can actually provide. There are youth in business out there who have businesses worthy of government procurement.
The way Kenya does it, yes.
But because of the process that is very tedious, that does not have cognizance of affirmative action, we said, no, there's a gap here, a gap that we must fill. So, hopefully in the next 1 month, there shall be a regulation issued by PPDA to the effect that should government be procuring a service regarding catering, regarding infrastructure, regarding whatever procurement it is, below 100 million, it should be ring-fenced for a youth-led enterprise. So this is work. This is transforming the youth of this country. Last year, around media, we petitioned the Speaker of Parliament on one issue, that the youth in business, because our research had shown that majority of youth businesses don't live to see their first, second birthday. And the issues around this was that the taxation, the burden that they have to pay to KCC and all these things was overweighing them down. We did petition the Speaker of Parliament and say that, is it possible to have URA or KCCA give leeway or give leverage to youth-led businesses? At least give them a tax holiday of 6 months at the inception of their businesses. Let them get on their feet, then you can tax them eventually, all right? This is actual transformation. And this is all being championed by the National Youth Council. That and much more.
Yeah, that and much more is one thing. I want to find out from Robinson. Do you, in your opinion, think this is enough, or this is just another ploy on paper, and when it comes to delivery and actionability, then it takes a different route?
Well, I normally like basing my submissions on facts. I must first of all congratulate the NYC for taking that direction. It is indeed good. It shows us that they're at least seeing something.
Yeah,
there is a bit of progress coming through. But then again, still it gets us back to the question that which kind of youth are you working for? When you tell me you went to petition Parliament about taxing, I don't think it is a right move for you to tell people that they should be given tax holidays even when they're starting. Businesses are built on those grounds. That you have all these expenses that you need to pay, including tax, for you to come out as a strong entrepreneur. Secondly, if you tell me you went to PPDA...
But the same government gives tax incentives to foreign direct investors.
Yeah, it should.
Why not tax incentives for the locals, especially for young startups?
It should give.
Robinson's argument is against the young people of this country. Because if you're saying that young people with their small businesses should be taxed in the same sense as a business of 10, 20 years, then I think
a multinational.
No.
Counter young people.
No, taxing people, taxing a business depends on what you're doing. I hope you understand. It depends on what you engaged in.
That's right.
even if you're a foreign company that is coming through to come and do business here, automatically I don't expect government to tax anyone who is a Ugandan the same way it tax someone who is from out. It's impossible.
Elizabeth.
And secondly,
yes,
all these businesses, what Ugandans, what the youth of this country need is not exempting them from tax. Give them the actual skills on how to run these businesses. If possible, because they're unemployed, give them money, let them start it up.
But that is why there is the PDM. That is why we have government skilling centers.
No, the PDM, I want to understand the connection between the PDM and the role of the NYC. Because honestly, the PDM is there for everyone. It's not directly only for the youth.
I asked this very question, and I think I need clarity from Moses. Moses, we have programs that, the programs that are NRM. Honestly, they come and say there's this PDM, and the president says, as the movement, we are skilling Ugandans. And then, so all these things tend to be under the umbrella of the bus. And then at some point, you say these are programs under NYC. I think this is why young people don't know how to differentiate NYC from the movement party. And sometimes maybe the ones that are more leaning to other parties don't feel they belong or don't feel they can access these. Also that we've seen lists from political party A front their members to benefit from these programs, and not lists from parties B and C. And when it comes to people that are benefiting from these, for example, this beautiful PPDA, point of action, when you look at that, won't we have, because also when you look at business owners that can have 100 million or below in this country, which kind of youth are we talking about? Because I don't feel those are the youth. Also that we have people who have these organizations front young people as the lead or the owners of these businesses, and yet we all know who the owners of these businesses are. So what are the mechanisms to make sure that the intended beneficiary is the youth of Uganda and not a politically affiliated youth member from political party A? I think you need to differentiate these things. I was just looking at your, honestly, even the website has colors that are very confusing. But yeah, that's very minor. That's very minor. El, you have something to say?
Orange, which is our theme color.
Now, when it comes to youths and skilling and other programs that the government has set up for the youth, it's a very good ideology. It's very amazing. But personally, I have known of people that have taken part in those programs. And actually, after the programs, they happen to apply to go abroad and do what they have learned from Uganda. They choose to leave the country other than practically putting the things that they have studied in practice here in Uganda. You were talking about about the aspect of if a youth actually wants to know about the different projects in National Youth Council, they have to interest themselves. And one of the mandates that you actually stated in the initial part of this conversation, you are very clear that your mandate is to actually have the youth take part in these government matters. But personally, I know, and I really see that the youth interest themselves in these economic programs, because we have youth who go ahead and actually sell their pieces of land, go buy motorcycles, which will be stolen the following day. So you see that actually the youth are doing on individual basis. They're taking a step to have an economic stand. So I feel they interest themselves with the economy, but they do not have a stand. They don't have a specific basis. And then when it comes to politics, what happens? Youths are interesting themselves in leadership. But what is happening? Actually, I even don't know if this government takes youth as priority, because if you're prioritizing the youth and at a certain point you're actually shutting them down, I don't know whether you are prioritizing them or you're doing the opposite. So the youths are interesting themselves in these programs. youths are interested in these programs. If I'm to give an example of if there is something I learned when I was becoming a youth, when I turned 18 in 2018, I happened to the programs or the projects that I learned from as a youth was Straight Talk. That was the organization that I got, because you people have a mandate that ranges from health, academics, education, everything. But why is it that a program or an NGO is the one actually bringing it down, zeroing it down to ground level, to a person like me, to a child in, actually, most people in villages do know about this whole Straight Talk thing. I don't know, nowadays it's a bit silent, but while I was growing up, I learned these basics from Straight Talk. And I think that is what National Youth Council seeks to put on ground, but it is not there. It is not there. Yes, you're working. I'm very, very, very amazed by what you've listed. But I also know that you have different, like every village, every district has a basis. National Youth Council does exist there, but it's not hard. When it comes to Busia, I only get to know you people when it's time for politics.
AMCI Radio for African Voices.